Hiya guys, and welcome back to Wade's Workshop. So, the Webster engine, as you saw, finished, or certainly running. A few bits to do, but that's just to make it run nice, and a few bits I'll polish up a bit further. But I've got it running, and that's great news. So this is probably going to sit on a shelf somewhere in the house for most of its life. I think the boys in work want to see it. They've all got an interest in engines, so I will take it in, a bit of a show and tell, as it were. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that Webster engine. I think it was 26 episodes. So yeah, all complete, finito, runs, works. And as you could probably tell from my face in the last episode, I was very pleased that it actually worked after all that work. So that's great news. So you're going to be asking the questions, what's next? So bear with me, I'll show you what's next. So I did show this a few months ago. We got the Alexander tool and cutter grinder here, the little bench grinder. It is a 2CGD model, serial number 309. As you can see down the bottom here, I've taken, it did have a diamond wheel fitted, cup wheel. I've taken that off, dried pulley and the mandrel. Straight bore in the mandrel. I'm surprised it's not a taper. But yeah, what I'm going to do is probably make another mandrel so I can swap between diamond wheel and grinding wheel, standard aluminium oxide grinding wheel fairly swiftly. For use with carbide and high-speed steel. So yeah, this is going to sit slightly on the back burner for now, but it is on the radar again now that the Webster engine's finished. So that's one of the two projects we'll be doing. So not the most glamorous view. You're seeing the backside of the mini lathe project I've been working on. So yeah, there was quite a few episodes on this, all the upgrades I've done. Wiring, I'm going to make a move forward with the wiring. It's going to be boring. But I will carry on with the wiring side of things, finishing off brackets, guards, belts, that sort of thing. As you can see, the main drive belt there is sat there waiting to grab hold of me. So I will be doing something to cover that up. I do need to obviously strip it all back down. I haven't blocked off the end of the main sort of box section that it's all sat on, stiffening it all up. I'm going to block off the ends of that, maybe pack it with something, still undecided, but yeah, just to stop any ringing and make it a more of a dampening effect. I've put a junction box on the back there ready for making up the connections where the power leads from the wall are going to come to. As you can see, all the control system is there up on the wall ready for plugging in. It's just the wiring on the lathe itself I need to do now. Yeah, more work on guards, but one thing I do want to do is let's take you to the quick change tool post that's on it. So I just pulled out the tooling. It's a 000 V-style sliding wedge tool holder, or quick change tool post. I've got two of these, so the 250-001s, which are, there's another one there. This is capable of holding a 12mm square tool bit. I got one here, so it will take it. As you can see, it doesn't sit in that deep, so it's not that well supported. And the bottom piece is quite thin, where all the load is going down on the tool. So I'm not a great fan of that, although this lathe isn't going to be put to great use. Dovetail in the back, and they're fairly sort of small. I've got this other one here. I haven't opened the packets on these other two. This is a 250-002, and it's got a V-groove in the bottom of it for taking boring bars, round stock tools, that sort of thing. So yeah, not 100% sure over this one either. I may make something up. Well, I am going to be making something up. So I think what we're going to do is make a batch of tool holders for it, for the quick change tool post, and we're going to beef them up a bit. We're going to still go with the 12mm tools. I've got 12mm tools I use in the Warco, so I'm going to stick with those. Yeah, because obviously I haven't got to carry such a range of tips. If I keep going with the 12mm tools, I'll have to buy some more tooling. But we're going to beef these up, and I'm also going to make a few specific ones, maybe one for a chuck so I can do tool post drilling as well. Or maybe one or two so I can put a pin vise in one and a pin chuck in one and a normal chuck in another. But we're going to go on and make those, and I have got, bear with me 2 seconds, I'll dig it out. As you can see, I've got a hurtling great chunk of steel here. It's EN9. That's what I bought. I've had it here for ages and ages. Now, I bought this EN9, I think it was EN9. I bought this to make tool holders for. These are the small ones. Bear with me. If I get the one off the Warco, it's more in proportion to make the ones for the Warco. So I'm going to put a dovetail in the back of this. I'm going to machine it up, to, you know, cut it to a length, machine it up. Then I'm going to decide on how many I want to make. So I'm going to cut one long dovetail. So, you know, if you think about it, let's have a look. With about 6mm between them. Let's have a look. Get a rule, eh? Get a rule. So these are, call it an inch. So if I cut 7 inches off there, maybe a bit more, 7.5, something like that. Well, 6. If I cut 7 inches off, I would be able to make at least 6 more tool holders. I might want to make them a bit thicker because that base, that amount isn't thick enough in my book. I want to double up on that. I want to make them a bit more chunky, so I might make them taller. I've got plenty of height to play with on the tool post. So yeah, maybe if I cut 8 inches off, I should be able to make 6. That'll give me 8 tool holders, which in total, so that should do me. So yeah, I'm going to cut off 7 inches off this bar, block it up, and then we're going to make some more of these. So bit of fun with the dovetails and what have you, and the slots, but yeah, it's going to be great fun. I'm really not in the mood for a hacksaw today, so 3mm passes. Bit of coolant on it. 12mm cutter. I'm running at 700 RPM. Not going mad here. Just plunging in 3mm at a time. Well, not plunging, dropping the cutter down when I'm off the edge of the job. As you can see, it doesn't take long to do a part. I think I am 12mm deep now. Okay, we'll call it there and flip it. So I flipped it 180. This end's holding on by a maybe 1mm thick piece now. Should be able to snap that off, I would have thought. Come on. Oh, maybe not. It's getting weaker. I can feel it fracturing. There we are, we'll have that out the way. I'll just finish that place off. So, yeah, that was a lot easier than hacksawing. I don't know, might have a bit of a step in there, but I'm not that worried about it. Okay. So I put the fly cutter up, holding it on 2 parallels, or sitting it on 2 parallels. Just put a bit of cutting oil across the surface, and I just want to get one flat face to start off with. So yeah, not running that fast. I'm running 480 RPM with a fly cutter set on about 80mm diameter. It's probably going a bit past that, but seems to be alright finish-wise. And I think that might be the final cut. That might be a bit heavy for my final. I might run a light one after. Speed it up a touch, put a really light cut on, a couple of pounds. So it'll change tune when it runs off the ends, only cutting on one side of the cutter then. It'll quieten down, but it should keep cutting, I hope, because it gives me a good indication my head is true. I'll have a look, see if we got the opposite swirls on the top. Hopefully we have. And we're good to go. So, yeah, I will probably run a finish pass across there. Now, that was quite heavy, that cut. It was about, I don't know, 12 pounds, something like that. So I've changed over to a carbide cutter in there. It's a lathe tool, actually. Hence why I'm running in reverse now. It's a standard lathe tool. So the face I just machined is against the back jaw hard. It's just sat down in the vise, flat on the base of the vise. And you can see I've got a bit of 12mm round stock in here, in the V-groove, in the vise. And that's ensuring that it pushed back square against that back jaw. So I'll run this cut here, then flip it, do the same on the other side, and then I know I've got 3 sides square, put it down in the vise on a parallel, and I can do the final face. But it's basically just to square it up. So I use the round bar twice. So this is the first one, squaring up. I'll flip this now, after this, put it down on parallels, again with the round bar, and that will ensure the face I'm machining now is parallel to the next one. And then, obviously, keeping the back face where it is, against the back there. I've got both faces square in relation to that back face. Top one then is just flashing off. So I've just deburred this where it sits, you know, where it is, without taking it out. So what I'm going to do is just pop that out. Let's just lift it there. So I've not changed the orientation yet. So what I'm going to do is reference the same side against the back. So just flip it 180. Okay. And then to get parallelism, I'm just going to pop it on some parallels. As opposed to the bottom of the vise, even though the bottom of the vise would probably do. Let me just get it. I'm on the end of travel of my bed here a little. So, okay, make sure I can run my cutter off. Okay. So put that against the back face. Put my little 12mm bar back in. Attempt to. Okay. Just nip that vise loosely. Clamp the vise. Now that I've got it on parallels, I can... That's it. Okay, so I've altered the cut now, so let me just bring the... Because I put it on parallels, just bring the cutter up. Just get a touch off. Okay. So I'm parallel this way to the bottom face, and I'm square to the back face because I've just used the same method. So these 3 sides are square, and these 2 faces, top and bottom, should be parallel. So that's like step 1. Then I can simply put it back in the vise with this face, back face on the parallels, skim across the other side, and we've got a true square and parallel block. Obviously I'm not worried about the ends at this stage. So I'm just going to run that across. Start cutting with the back edge of the cutter now. There we go. And it's not a flat face. So as you can see, final side laying down on the parallels on the back face, the face that was against the back jaw, and just running a cut over there. So this is the rough cut. It's probably going to want to need another pass. It hasn't quite cleaned up. But yeah, all good fun. So we've basically, all I've done is squared it up. No dimensions, just squared it all up, square and parallel along the major lengths and sizes. So just flash the top off. And just for fun, I want to find the middle. So I'll put the wobbler up. Oop, a little bit too far. Try that again, shall we? There. Set a 0 in Y. Let's come over the other side. Okay. Nearly. There. So, Y half. And 0 is my middle. Okay. That's good. Okay. So, what to do next? Well, I'm going to be running a dovetail in there along the full length to replicate that one. And I'm going to do that for the whole bar, so one dovetail to do, one measurement to do, and I've got enough to make 6 out of, because that's the tricky bit. So it has got an undercut in the centre, I can feel it, and then obviously the working bit. So what cutter have I got? Oh, hang on a minute. I reckon I can rough it out with that. So that's what I'm going to do. Right, okay. I have to put that in there now. Will I? Yes, I can get in there. Okay, so that's the cutter in there, in the middle. I need to measure what that depth is. So I think what I can do is measure the overall, and then measure what the step is, and I'll know what depth it is. So, ballpark figure with the calipers will do for starters. So overall, so quick little trick, measure the overall 20.05, 0 that out, and then if I measure the working part, 6.64, 6.7, 6.8, okay, 6.7 to the working bit, and then there's a 0.1 undercut in the middle. So, let's do 6.5 mil. So I'm going to slot now along the entire length of the part, 6.5 mil deep. We'll do that to start with, a rougher. So, let's bring my head down a bit. Let's take my quill up a little bit. Okay, that'll do. Lock the head. I'm just going to touch the tool, set 0. Okay, 6.7. I will forget that. No, 6.5. I know I will forget that. So let me find a Sharpie. And we'll write it down. 6.5 over 6.7 over 6.8. So 6.5 is where I'm headed. Right, let's start the cutter up. Got my locks on in Y. What's that cutter running at? 500. It's going to run a lot faster than that. Anyway. Just confirm my touch. DRO's reading 1 mil. That's reading 0.5, 4, 3, 2. DRO's reading 0.1. Not touching. 06, 04, 04, 03. Okay. I'm going to reset that 0. So how much should we take? Let's take 1/2 mil. Just see what happens. I reckon I can take a lot more than that, but drop that down to 1 mil. Let's try that again. Keep that feed where it is. Give it a bit of work. Still on a 1/2 mil cut until I reach where I stop, which is about here. Now we're talking. Keep it on a bit. Okay, well, as you can see, it would take a mill cut, but in the interest of being kind to my mill, I think we'll go back to 1/2. Okay, so that's just the last pass across, 0.1 cut, roughed out 6.5 deep. So we'll change to a high-speed steel cutter in a minute, I think. And we'll do finishing off of the square sizes, I think. So, same thing, I got a 10 mil cutter, I touched on top again, and I've come down, run a cut through the centre at 6.6 deep. Now I've stepped over just to touch that back face. I think I put like a 0.2 cut on it. 6.3 is showing on my DRO offset. I'll do the same the other way and measure up what the slot width is. The parallel part of the slot, I'm going to do this to finish size, it's not important. It's 24 mil, it's coming out 24.12 or something like that on my blocks. I'm going to go for 24 mil. So I'm going to offset in Y, same both sides, measure it, and then see what I got to change the offset by. So yeah, just running a nice gentle cut. It should be around a mil a side because the carbide cutter was 22. Slot's got to finish 24. Yeah, so I've just done a touch off on here of 0.3 mil. So I'll do the same the other side, and I'm expecting to see, well, if that's a 10 mil cutter, it might be a 3/8 cutter. I'm going to have to be careful. But I should be safe there. Not a bad finish on that sidewall, considering it isn't going to be used. So the idea of this, putting the square cutter in, you know, putting the square pocket into size, is to take all the work away from the dovetail cutter. So I've done 7.3mm offset in both directions, and that's theoretically the right size now. I measured it when I went to 7, there was 0.6 left in. So I may need a scratch pass after this, we'll see. I'll wait till the cutter gets down this end of it and then we'll have a measure up this end. But yeah, so that's the full width of the parallel part of the slot, and it's 0.1 off the depth of where the dovetail cutter needs to go, just 0.1 off the depth. The centre area is relieved 6.8, or 0.1 below that. So when I've done the 2 side walls, I'll run back through the middle to the correct width at the full 6.8 depth. So that relieves stopping the base of the cutter having to cut across it, or the base of the dovetail cutter having to cut across its entire bottom face. So that's just a relief. Right. So just letting this run its course. We'll have a measure, and it's possible there's 0.1 left in there. In fact, I think there will be. So I may have a 2-plough pass across both outside edges following this. So I did have to take 0.05 aside off, just to bring it to the dimension of 24 mil, and I've measured it up. And it's 24.03, I think. The original was 24.08.1, something like that, so I'm not worried about that little bit. So, next step in the procedure is to undercut the centre. So let's just stop the cutter there. So if I go back to middle, so my offset there was 7.35. My offsets for the centre part, which is going to be relieved, are going to be 4 mil smaller. It's 20 mil wide, the undercut. So take 2 mil off the offset either way. So that is going to be, let me write it down, 5.35. And my finish depth here, I'm going to do that now, 6.8. It's 0.1 below surface. Okay, go for it. Back in the middle. Probably taking 0.15 out of the deck. So I'll run the centre through, offset to 5.35 either way, and that will give me a 20 mil wide undercut in the root. And that's the part then ready to accept the dovetail cutter. So that's the first one set to the offset, 5.35 in the floor of it. Work our way along. Offset the other way, back the other way again. And that's it, ready for the dovetail cutter. I've got the dovetail cutter up, as you can see, and we're starting to cut the groove in the back. I haven't taken any dimensions yet. I'm offset, where am I? 3.65 at the moment. I'm going to bring it in so it looks like it's sort of 2/3 of the way. Then do the same the other side, and then we'll look at measurements. So it's roughing with the dovetail cutter at the moment. As you can see, I'm getting visually close now, so I'm just running it across. I'm at 6.2 offset. I'm just running the cutter back the other way, just take any spring out. And then I'll swap across to do this front face until I get to the same offset. Then we'll look at measurements. So I need something I can measure for the width of the dovetail. So I've got two 4 mil diameter ground rods. They're old hardened D2 punch blanks, they are, from a press tool. Ones that have had former lives, but they are straight, and they're hardened and ground 4 mil on the button. So if I stick in between them an adjustable parallel, squeeze it up. I could use slip gauges for this, but this is a far quicker method. And I measure the size of the parallel. I want the same size in my finished block. So 18.968. Okay, 18.968. Let's just put that mic safe. Let's take that out of there. Use the same rods. I've cleaned the slot out. In my part. Drop parallel in. Squeeze it up. And that measures, well, I'm glad to see it went straight on. 18.146. So there's about 0.8 mil left in there. So that means, is it linear? Yes, it is. So that means 0.4 per side. So where I'm at 4.6, I'm going to go to 5 mil offset each way and see how it looks then. So I've got a ballpark figure now. I'll put my jig to one side. 5 mil offset each way. So carry on cutting. Sorry guys, you couldn't see what I was doing then even, could you? Right, okay, so that's 4.62. So I'm going to go to 5 mil offset each way. Oh, a bit far. There's another 0.2. Off to go again. Keep going to 5mm. Both sides. We should be a bit closer then. Should be in the realms of 0.1 a side. So I'm looking for, and I've written the figure down, I've just done the check again, 18.956, and I have, at least I did it a moment ago, 18.897. So there's about 0.5 there, 0.58 to come out. So 0.58 over 2, 0.029. Okay, so 0.029 aside. Going back through the clips of video, I realise I haven't shown, so I've just deburred the block, drop him on, lock him off. So yeah, it fits the dovetail just the same as the originals. Should be. The dimension is spot on. So yeah, they do work as far as the dovetail's concerned. So moving forward, I got to cut another 4 of these off. I've cut this one off camera, cut this one off. You will see this in the next video. Just running a little carbide chamfer and end mill across there. Set this one. I lock the depth so that the cutter's not too low, and then I've moved it across till the chamfer looks right. It's about a 30-degree chamfer, this one, because that's what the bit is. And offset of 8.48, so I'll do the same the other side. Happy days. We're running this quick, 1500 RPM, fairly fast speed. It's just eating it off, leaving a spectacular finish as well. And that looks very similar. In fact, it looks slightly smaller than the original, but hey ho. Okay, so that's the first offset, 8.48, 8.48 the other way. That should be equal about. So here's one of the original tool holders, and when I put my 12mm tools in, they don't sit fully in. I can't put the slot deeper if I made them the same thickness, because I'm going to be reducing the backbone between the slot and the dovetail. So I need to increase the thickness, and I'd also like to add another mil of backbone in there when the slot's to full depth. So I worked it out that I need it 25mm thick, and that'll leave me an extra mil again as well. So no problem. Well, it leaves an extra mil of backbone, enough to come to the top of here, and another ½ mil. So I'll only mill the slot 12mm, so I'll have an extra 1.5 mil of backbone. So 25mm is the thickness. So later down the line, I want to make 2 of them with, instead of a 12mm square in here, it's going to have a 12mm reamed hole. So I'm making them so only ½ mil, or I'm making them so that the tool comes flush. But with a 12mm circle, obviously I'd be breaking through the circle. So I want some that are 3mm thicker again, is the long and the short of it. So this has got to be 28mm for the thicker ones, 25mm for the thinner ones. So I think what I'll do is machine it down to 28mm, you know, plus ½ mil, something like that first. What is it at the moment? Don't know. Yeah, it's 37.28. So yeah, that's going to reduce, you know, 9mm off this. Be a lot easier for me to cut up. So first thing, flash it off to 28mm. There we are, guys. It's nice to be back on the mini lathe project. So I know we're making tool holders, but something you've seen me do before, but in the distant past. And I think the last time I made them was on the lathe. Anyway, as usual, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you all very soon. Cheers now.